The desert does not forgive inattention. I have worked this posting long enough to know that the Vareth Range does not care whether you are watching or not. It bakes the stone the same, pulls the heat upward in the same long columns, and waits. I have learned to wait with it. My station sits at the edge of the Duran Flats, 200 kilometers from the nearest city, 60 meters above the pan, on a basalt shelf where the rock is hard enough to hold the anchor bolts. The installation is not large. 4 sensor domes, a relay tower, a buried power cell that could run the whole range for 30 years without fuel, and the Sentinels. There are 9 of them at my posting. Across the range, counting every node from the Duran Flats to the Calith Ridge, there are 417. They stand 11 meters tall. They move when called. They have been standing longer than my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather was born. I am a frontier scout. My name is Aaron Voss. I have held this post for 11 years and I have never seen the Sentinels move on their own. Not until the morning the Keth came back. First signal came through the long band array at 03 Fo, before the desert had started to warm. I was at the console with a cup of coffee going cold beside me, running a routine sweep of the outer marker buoys when the alarm tone sounded. Not the soft tone for an atmospheric anomaly or the double ping for satellite reposition. The long, flat, single note that means something is dropping out of faster-than-light transit above the equatorial band. I set the coffee down and pulled the feed. There were 11 ships. They came in for Feen, a wedge, point forward, the kind of geometry that does not happen by accident. The lead vessel was old. I could see it in the hull design even through the sensor read. Layered armor in a style that matched nothing in any current registry. Curved in a way that suggested manufacturing logic from an entirely different engineering tradition. The ships behind it were newer but carried the same lineage. The same swept flange at the engine cowling. The same angular bracket where the hull plates joined. Whoever built these ships had been building them the same way for a very long time. The long band picked up a broadcast signal 12 seconds after they cleared transit. It was not a hailing frequency, not a distress call. It was a declaration. I ran it through the translation matrix and waited while the system pulled at the linguistic pattern. Keth language had not been heard in recorded history. But the archived signal set we carry at every frontier post, the old broadcasts, the ones preserved and cross-indexed for 160,000 years, matched the phoneme structure inside 40 seconds. The translation came back rough but clear enough. This system is Keth-bonded territory. The loyalty debt of its inhabitants is registered under the Keth Dominion Covenant of the Third Conclave. We have come to collect what is owed. I sat with that for a moment. Then I opened the planetary relay and rang up forward control at Calith Station. Calith, this is Voss at Duran Post. I have an inbound formation of 11 contacts, confirmed extraterrestrial, broadcasting a territorial claim on the Sol system. They're identifying as the Keth Dominion. I need you to push this upward, and I need you to do it now. Duty officers are at Calith. A woman named Sela Oren, who had been on that point since before I came out to the range, did not pause. Pushing. Keep the channel open, Voss. I kept the channel open. What happened in the next 8 minutes is difficult to describe to someone who has not watched a planetary defense network come to full readiness. It does not announce itself loudly. There is no alarm, no siren, no dramatic pulse of energy visible from the ground. What you see, if you are watching the sensor feeds the way I was watching them, is a quiet and total shift, like a sleeping animal that has opened its eyes and is simply looking at you now, fully awake, not yet moved. The orbital ring above the equatorial band powered to active status. The warship formations that hold station above the inner system moved to intercept geometry. 42 defense platforms along the L4 and L5 points rotated their targeting arrays toward the inbound formation. And across the Vareth Range, across every frontier node, from the Duran Flats to the Calith Ridge, 417 sentinels stirred. I heard mine before I saw them. The servo-mechanical sound of joints that had been still for years finding their range of motion. Not grinding. Nothing was worn. The maintenance cycles are too thorough for that. Just the low, deliberate sound of 11-meter frames rising from rest to readiness. I stepped outside onto the basalt shelf and watched them orient. They faced north-northeast. They faced the sky. The Keth Formation had begun its descent toward the upper atmosphere by then. I could track it on my wrist display. They were coming in on a standard approach vector for a planetary insertion, the kind you use when you are not expecting resistance. Forward Control pushed a translated response up to the formation. The text went out on the same frequency band the Keth had used, in their own phoneme structure, assembled from the archived signal library. It took longer to compose than it would have if we had living speakers. We do not have living Keth speakers, because there have been no Keth in this system for 160,000 years. What we have instead is every transmission they ever sent, cataloged and stored, indexed against every shift in linguistic pattern across the time they were present, so that when they came back, we could answer them in a language they would recognize. The message we sent said, in effect, this system's inhabitants have recognized no outstanding bond since before your last recorded contact. The Sol system is a sovereign human domain. Please hold your approach and acknowledge. There was a pause of 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I spent that pause watching the Sentinels. They are not human technology, not entirely. The original core architecture, the locomotion logic, the structural alloy in the primary limb frames is Keth. Salvaged from the machines the Dominion left behind when they departed this system, 160,000 years ago, when humanity was young enough that the Keth dismissed us as a resource problem not worth solving. They left equipment behind the way you leave equipment behind when you are not coming back. Carelessly. In depots that were not sealed. In orbital staging areas that decayed and rained hardware down across 2 continents over the following 10,000 years. We collected every piece. We studied it for a long time. We understood it, eventually, and we built from it, integrating what we learned into our own engineering tradition, until the result machines were neither purely Keth nor purely human, but something new. Something that carried the memory of both origins in its frame and answered to us. 417 of them at this range alone. More at every other range across the planet. More still in orbit. The Keth Formation held position at 60,000 kilometers. Then the lead vessel responded. The translation matrix worked faster this time. The system had more material to work from now. The message was shorter than the first. It said, "What are those units?" Forward Control relayed the question to me. They wanted a frontier post to answer. Closer to the ground, closer to the Sentinels. I thought about what to say for a moment. Then I keyed the relay. Those are Sentinel units. Every frontier post on this planet maintains them. They are built from technology your Dominion left in this system 160,000 years ago. We found it. We studied it. We built something better with it. They have been standing watch on this range since before my great-great-grandmother was born. They are standing watch right now. Another pause. Longer this time. When the Keth lead vessel responded again, the translated message came back in 2 sentences. The loyalty bond claim is withdrawn. We are departing this system. They came out of their holding position slowly, turning the formation on a long arc, back toward the transit band. I watched the sensor feed until all 11 contacts had cleared the inner system boundary. I watched the orbital ring power down from full readiness. Watched the warship formations ease back to holding pattern. I watched the defense platforms rotate their arrays to standby. And then I watched the Sentinels settle. It took them a few minutes. They do not move quickly when there is no urgency. They turned back to their rest positions one by one, facing outward along the range's perimeter the way they always do. And the servo-mechanical sound of their settlings was the only thing moving in the desert by the time the last of them stopped. Went back inside and poured the cold coffee out and made a fresh cup. In my post-log I wrote, Keth Dominion contact 11 vessels 03400541. Territorial claim presented, denied and withdrawn without incident. Sentinels to full readiness, return to rest. No engagement. Awaiting formal system-level incident report from Calith. Then I sat down at the console and watched the desert warm up the way it does every morning. Slowly, without announcement, the heat rising from the stone as if it had always been there and was only now making itself known. We had always known they might come back. Every post in the system was built on that knowledge. Every archive signal, every catalog transmission, salvaged piece of Keth hardware that we reverse engineered and rebuilt into something of our own. All of it was preparation for a morning like this one. They came expecting a debt. They found 417 reminders that the only thing still owed in this system was patience. And we had been paying that account for 160,000 years. The desert does not forgive inattention, neither do we.